doesn't ring. And if I like literally look away from the
Don't look
computer
away.
apparently I shouldn't. Don't look away. Yeah, pretty much. I've cobbled together my recording station because
Yeah.
well, we're
As that storm came inside.
no, well, since we were in the cleaning mood, um,
Oh, dude, we've been in that mode for months. It's a can of worms.
one of the things that's becoming a problem with everybody home right now is me working out in the middle of the dining room slash living room slash every place. And I really don't like headsets and microphones and all that other stuff when I'm trying to work because I'm like moving around, I'm taking notes, I'm doing all this other stuff. And so I have made the choice to start to move everything back into our bedroom. But the way that our bedroom was set up, it was like, everything feels so cramped. So we're like, okay, what's the best way to do this? So we started moving things around. Moved a bunch of stuff out into like the hallway and everything else. And so like everything's just kind of in disarray. Desk is gone. Everything else that, like I had at least a little like working station for the just recording in my bedroom. And so, once a week, that's fine. No big deal. But now like, half the bedroom is somewhere else. The desk isn't in here and everything else. And so now I'm kind of like teetering the microphone on a lamp.
It's a delicate setup.
Yeah, it's pretty funny here.
I think like there's something to that. You got to kind of tear things apart to start over and rip it down to nothingness to do it right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you don't, man, it's then you're playing that Rubik's Cube game, which I hate playing that game when you're like trying to make a space nice.
Right, exactly.
And it's like I got to move this 3 spots over and then you're thinking like a chess game of how you're going to get to check, right? And it's like, oh man, I hate that. It's like there's never enough time to work. There's never enough space to work. What I meant to say.
Yeah.
It's like you're stepping on stuff, you're falling over stuff, and you gotta rip off the Band-Aid and get everything out of the space and start over.
Exactly. So at least I've got a nice comfortable place to sit on the bed.
Nice. You got a big chair.
Yeah.
I'm kind of contemplating something similar because our carpet in this house is so old and nasty. Oh, what are we going to do about all the furniture that's on it?
Yeah. Like, I sent you a picture of my current setup.
That is sweet. That is balanced. Well balanced.
Very. I had the knockoff. So I've got the normal Joby, little tripod thingy. Is it a tripod? I guess it's tripod. It's got 3 legs.
Mm-hmm.
But then
articulated tripod.
Yes.
Something. I don't know.
And then I wanted the one for the iPhone, but I couldn't find any. I couldn't really find one. And so for Christmas, my daughter got me, kind of a decent knockoff. And actually, I kind of dig it. But if you take the little head that holds the iPhone off, it is the perfect screw arrangement to screw into the back of my mic.
Nice.
So I use that.
It's like a quarter 20 thread or something.
Yep.
Common camera mounting point.
Listen to the little nerd.
Yeah. Why gotta be little?
Well, I just because you're short.
Story of my life.
Did you already tell that story?
Yeah, probably.
You did when we were talking about wrestlers.
Yes.
My wife was just reading an article about Luke Perry's kid, from 90210, Luke Perry.
Mm-hmm.
His kid is apparently a professional wrestler.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Show business, yes. Acting?
And well, yeah, in a way. I mean, in a way, I mean, it's all physical acting, but still acting.
Yeah, it's all, yeah.
And as we said previously, like, don't ever like assume that acting isn't like full physical, full athlete, because I've seen these dudes train, and all of it. Yes, they are trying not to like kill or hurt each other, but it's like synchronized swimming. You've got to be perfect at it, or
it's totally choreographed and rehearsed, and
yeah,
in that way. But beyond that, right? This is more like Charlie Chaplin level stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The train's coming. You're balancing on the very top rung of the ladder, and yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing that that it's happening.
It's a shame, and you say that, and I honestly remember back when I was a kid, because the local station would like play all of these old timey movies and stuff, and I remember watching Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and all of them were like so physical in their.
You know who it is in our time? Jackie
Chan. Yeah, yep. Jackie Chan for sure.
Caught you while you were clearing your throat there.
Exactly.
I beat you to it.
Yeah. I mean, wow. And think about how many bones that dude has broken.
Oh yeah.
I think he literally has said that he's broken almost every single bone at least once, if not multiple times.
You watch the like the behind the scenes of the DVDs.
Oh yeah.
Watching him try the stunts over and over and over and over again, and just getting pummeled. Right.
There's one
incredible.
There's one behind the scenes that I was watching, and he was like sliding through, like jumping through like a very small aperture of like a ring or something. I don't know what it was.
This is the same thing that I pull up in my mind when I'm thinking about it.
And it's just like how many times he like missed before he got it right, and you're just like,
right.
Ow! Every single time you're like, dude, like
smacks his head, catches his shoulder, like his arm goes the wrong direction.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And he keeps doing it over and over and over again until he gets it right. And I mean, hell, that's a perfect analogy for architecture if I ever heard one. I mean, think about how many times, in all reality here, think about how many times you've drawn something and either you had it QC'd and they're like, no, this isn't it. Or you were looking at it online and you were kind of like comparing it to something else. Or back in the day when we were looking at like a SmackNA catalog for flashing detail or something, and you kept doing it wrong, and he was just like, no, this isn't right. Or you would send it out into the field and they'd be like, oh, well, that's not really how we build it. And you're like, okay. So, sorry, can you hear me? What the heck happened?
Skype just up and quit.
Yeah. I was literally, I kept talking and then I'm like, wait, what? See again? I looked away.
Right. You can't look away.
You can't look away.
Something actually I've noticed with video calls where somebody's just on a rant or stream of consciousness, talking. Never looking at the people on the screens, like trying to get into raising their hands and nope, just, looking everywhere except the screen. The goddamn screen is where the action is, people. Look at the screen.
Well, so what's funny is you say that, and we were in the middle of a client meeting on the screen with our overseas client, and we were reviewing renderings. And the guy who was presenting from our team was like, he was in the moment. He was going to town and all that other stuff, and did not realize that for at least 2 minutes he had dropped off the call. And he's sitting there and he's just talking away and all this other stuff. And I'm texting him. I'm like, hey, you dropped off the call.
You're gone.
And so he gets back. He's like,
That's the thing. Like, this is so funny because it's like you just lost like your presence.
yeah.
And that's such a weird concept, right?
It is too. It's because, like, when you're face to face, obviously, you're in the moment, you're talking, you're moving, you're in eye contact, and yes, you can flail your hands and look away and all this other stuff because you're there in the room in the moment. But you've got to be almost hyper vigilant, not only to the fact that you're giving the presentation, but also the fact that you are hoping that you're still online. Because there's a lot of times where I will actually like pause to make sure that everybody is still either listening to me or like I'm still connected.
Right.
It's like, can everybody hear me? Like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you're so attuned to that silence and what it could mean.
Yeah.
It's either, yep, keep going. You've got this. You're doing great. Or it's like, is anybody out there?
Because you could literally like headphones on, sitting there rattling along, and then realize, oh crap, I'm not on this call anymore. Like, what happened? And you're just like, hello.
And when did that happen? Like, where did we? What was the last word?
What's interesting is like everybody.
Can you even recall that stream of consciousness?
Well, what's interesting though is like, so like this one guy, and I've done it as well. I was like, okay, so where did you guys lose me? And like the last thing you said was, the southern entrance is, and you're like, oh, okay, good. And so the southern entrance is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you aren't going to repeat exactly what you said unless it was scripted. But otherwise, it's hilarious to, like these little gaffes. And then still, oh my God, what is the one most annoying thing that is said on conference calls? Still, a year and a half later. Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. God dang, really?
Yeah.
Like,
can you hear me?
Come on, man.
That is amazing that still happens and it does. You'll just see somebody's mouth moving.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, this is when the two worlds collide of not paying attention and you're on mute. And so everyone's trying to tell that person that they're on mute, but they're not seeing it. It's when you just want like a literal shocker, right? So you can just push a button from your desk and bzz.
Yeah. So I'll say that there are certain meetings where like the clients will not go on screen, period, at all.
Yeah.
And, so they don't turn on their cameras and stuff. And periodically we'll turn our cameras on, but most of the time we keep them off. I've been keeping mine off because, I've been having weird internet issues. And of course,
we could talk about that.
My assumption is that, yeah. And so
I'm sure a lot of other people in your vicinity do too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was thinking about this. It's like, yes, it's not LA, but in the DC area, you got 7 million people in the DC metro area. And my particular county and Northeast DC are two of the more populated ones that, for the most part, people are like, working for or with or around the government and stuff like that. And so with every one of them home, let's just throw out like,
you kind of depend on the internet a little bit.
You kind of depend on the internet. Exactly. And what's interesting about it is like, if you're like I'll go around and make sure before I get started in the day, I'll make sure, because I've found out before I upgraded my internet to even the most expensive internet that Comcast offers.
The fastest. Yeah, I like how you call it just the most expensive. It's not...
Well, yeah. Well, it can't be the fastest because for some reason there is a drop between the power line where they've run it, where it like turns in and comes into our house.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a drop between my house and the pole. So I'm supposed to be getting the fastest internet, but I'm getting about a third of that. And even more so is that...
But you can still pay for the fastest. We're cool with that.
Oh, yeah. We're fully aware that you aren't getting your full internet coverage, the full internet strength that you're paying for.
We only confirm that you can get that speed to the pole.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, lucky pole.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to adjust the cost of what you're actually getting versus what you hope you're getting. I mean, yes, could easily give you back about $70 a month because you're not getting at least that $70 worth of internet because it's being hung up at the pole. However, and they've, it's interesting though. They have like come out and try to replace it, and more recent events have caused them to completely restring the internet. So like I have a new line, and I haven't noticed whether or not, I mean, all of my signal seems to be pretty strong. So
got to do that speed test. Okay, I actually get a little faster than they promise, up and down.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. Never happens. I guess that's one way to incrementally raise the bill every, 6 months or a year and have me not complain about it. Because that's all these utility companies do, and I do consider the internet a utility. It's like,
yeah,
they just keep raising the rates, over time until you complain, and maybe you can get it back down a little bit. But one way to lower the complaints is to provide you with a little bit more speed than you pay for. So what has happened recently around you? Something weird made it so that we're recording this in the 11th hour.
So, yeah, we could have been recording at any time. Sorry, you sidetracked me and you said I should run a speed test, and I did. And I'm only getting 42.6.
Only. Let's go back to dial-up days for a second before let's consider the word only.
Oh, that's true. Oh my gosh, I'm
only getting 42 megabits per second.
So
Jeez, what a snail.
So we were actually talking about one time. I can't remember which museum we were at. So we were at a museum, and it was the U.S. Army Museum, and we were going through there, and we were looking at some of like the displays of the 9/11 post 9/11 culture in the Army, and since you said that, it just kind of dawned on me, like, when I was at work early in the morning on September 11th, we had one computer that had the internet connected to it, and it was a dial-up modem. And I remember somebody calling us and saying something about, like, oh my God, do you see what's going on? And we're like, so we quickly, like, the entire office went to that one computer. The entire office of 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
We were all hovering over this guy, like, dialing in, and we were, we watched it on a very slow, very grainy, just some of the early stuff. And then, of course, my boss said, was just too frazzled, said, there's no way that we're going to be able to work, just go home. And so, like, I lived the closest to everybody. And so everybody just piled in their cars and drove over to my house, and we like ran into the living room and turned on the TV and all this other stuff. But it was just like, you say that, and it was just like, at that period of time.
That's like the most
it was like
memorable thing about internet speeds.
It was
that event.
Yeah. And just how hard it was. I mean, it took like, multiple tries to get online, because obviously at the time, everybody was trying to call.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, just overwhelm of bandwidth.
Exactly.
Saturation. Sure.
This episode is made possible with support from Twinmotion.
Now, you've probably heard of Zaha Hadid Architects. They're one of the world's best-known firms, and when it comes to innovation, they're big fans of pushing boundaries. The team at ZHA has started using Twinmotion, a simple, real-time ArcViz tool that lets you instantly visualize ideas and clearly communicate them to stakeholders. ZHA designer Marco Marghetta says that the benefits of using Twinmotion for the designers are the simplicity of the interface, the playfulness with which you can articulate your scenes, and not having to worry about all the technical aspects that real-time usually brings, like light maps, PBR workflows, and other technical details. Marco also loved Twinmotion Cloud, which lets any member of the team access a project from their web browser without a single download or installation.
The project manager can access the model, review it, and immediately give you the feedback anytime from anywhere, says Marco. To download your exclusive free trial, head to twinmotion.link/Archispeak. Again, that's twinmotion.link/Archispeak.
So, not to sidetrack.
Yeah, that's a big tangent potential right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could have been recording a few days ago. Maybe
we could have.
Something happened on the East Coast.
Yeah. So we had just what should have been normal thunderstorms rolling in, and we really do get some weird weather events that are in the Mid-Atlantic, and I have my assumption is that it has to do with where we're situated, both with the bodies of water near us, the Atlantic, the Chesapeake Bay, the rivers and all that other stuff. But then geographically, we've got the Appalachian Mountains, and like all of this wind is sort of like building up, and then it's just kind of like rolling into like the valleys, and then just kind of like picking up steam as it's like moving across the Appalachian. And so it seemed like what should have been a normal thunderstorm event, which was pretty intense in its own right, but it was pretty intense for about 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes was extraordinarily devastating. There was sustained gale force winds.
I'm just laughing because like the FaceTime call that we had,
yeah.
It was just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
there's some crazy stuff going on.
And everything that I showed you that happened
that was aftermath.
Right? That was aftermath, but that was a 10-minute span maybe, and it could have felt a lot longer than it really was. So we hear the rain coming down, we hear the thunder and lightning kind of like crackling all over the place and stuff, and we're just like, this sounds like it's going to be a big one. It's a nor'easter. And
put on your 3-piece suit and become the weatherman.
Exactly. And it was but so we're always worried about 2 pine trees that we have in our backyard, that 2 of the limbs have been looking kind of iffy. Well, one of those limbs kind of gave up the ghost during this event and fell, but it fell like on our side yard, didn't hit anything, but it like thunked really hard. We're like, oh crap. I can't believe that, this limb finally came down. And it was, pretty decent size, probably, I don't know, say like a 3-4 inch caliper limb. So, it was decent size, heavy, whatever. And so it made a pretty decent thud. So we're sitting there and we're staring out our side window and watching, and then the rain's just like driving in so hard. That's literally blowing in between the sills and jambs of our door. And so it's like pouring into the side. So we're like grabbing towels and everything else that's, close by and stuffing them underneath the thing and trying to like prevent all the water from coming in. So that seemed to be like the distraction. Because then the next thing we hear is a couple of like thunks of like limbs and stuff hitting the roof. All right, like we're still kind of like looking out the side. And then we like walk out and look out the front, and I'm looking straight at my truck, and that was the video that I had sent to you, and maybe we'll at least put a still or something like that because it was a live photo. So I don't know how we could post that to the thing, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, so everything like the rain is moving horizontal, and then the rain still moving horizontally turns to hail. And, so like we can just hear like all of the windows being peppered and stuff. Then we like slowly glance just a little bit to our right, and here comes our neighbor's tree down on my wife's car. And
yeah, that means just to paint the picture of this rain and hail, like the live photo that you sent of that hitting the front of your car. So your car was on the street.
Yeah.
Parked there, but it looked like you were driving 80 miles an hour through the rain because the way that it looked like you were in a rain or like a wind tunnel.
Exactly.
And it was coming up over the windshield, and it was like, I'm seeing the aerodynamics of my SUV.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just
so
that's
the wind
vehicle
that we're seeing.
So that's the win. And so we're like, oh man, I can't believe that, this, and it was like half of the neighbor's tree. And this is, pretty old oak tree. And half of their tree decided it, wanted to be a part of my wife's car. It probably was just standing there. I was like, man, that's a pretty nice little car. I bet it's fast and all that other stuff. It's not. It's a Mazda 3. Nothing special. Mm-hmm. You didn't need to jump in the side of the car, but you did. And so then, we just kind of like preoccupied, and then we go back over to make sure, they check the rain coming in the side door. And then I go back out to take a look at my truck to see if everything's okay. And then, apparently I just didn't hear it, but our big, massive tree...
Well, you weren't watching it, so it didn't make a sound.
Yeah, exactly. See? There you go. Mm-hmm. If
the theory's true.
If a tree falls in a rainstorm, and if you don't see it, can you hear it? In this particular case, no. We didn't. Which is pretty bad because it was a huge tree. Because now it is... Well, now it's actually cut up into little pieces and taken to the city, wherever the city took it. But beforehand, it fell, ripped the power lines out of my. And when I say ripped, it was however far down the wall, down into our basement it went. It
took them out.
It took them out. So it took out my power line, the old phone line, which obviously was dead, but it was still there. The cable and internet line, both my house and my neighbor's house. And amazingly, it actually fell right in between everything. It only hit the power lines. It did not hit anybody's house or anything like that.
Yeah.
If it fell backwards, I honestly always felt like, it's kind of risky me parking the car right next to this one because they keep marking it. They've marked it now for the past 3 years as a tree that needs to come down because it had some health issues, which it clearly did because now it's down.
It snapped.
Well, so when it came down, you could see how rotted out the core of, I don't know how this thing was standing up, to be quite honest with you, because there were no roots. I mean, the roots had been gone or they'd withered away or whatever. And, we'll post some pictures on the in the show notes because it was pretty well rotted. And it was just amazing that it didn't fall. But I was always worried about why am I always, constantly parking? Oh yeah, it's because I want a new car. No.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Because I've really been eyeballing that new Bronco. Oh, but it came down, and so my wife's car did not come out unscathed. It and it's interesting though because it looked worse than it really is because once we cut away the branches and all that other stuff, it's like a bunch of micro dents.
Micro dents.
Yeah, they're a bunch of little dents all over the place. There's a couple of big ones. Windows, 2 windows were broken out. And,
wow.
Wow. And then I guess the way that the branch had come into the car, the particular branch that took out the window, it broke the door panel, the side card, the door card. And so it's all messed up and there's glass all over the place and there's limbs inside and all this other stuff. But I mean, it was still drivable. We got to take it in to, have the adjuster take a look at it and assess how much it's going to cost us and everything else.
Total it. New car.
Well, we've been looking.
Nowadays, this is how it works.
I'm not saying that we haven't been looking, but we've been looking. She loves her little Mazda. I mean, the reason I bought her this particular Mazda was because her very first car when she was a teenager was a Mazda 323, and she like loved it and reminisced about she called it the egg because it was, the old white like egg looking car. And so I bought her the egg part too, just because she was just like,
just the whites,
So exactly.
Healthy egg.
Well, it was. Now it's cracked.
Yeah. It was a pristine little egg. Wow.
Yeah.
Should we tell everybody that this is going to be a sidetrack episode?
This is total
Too late.
I think
Life gets in the way of architecture sometimes.
Yeah, I think we've sidetracked. No, well, architecture-wise, so our neighbors and us are standing around. And as everybody knows, energy costs in the U.S. are astronomical. And we're all standing around because we're always getting like charged surcharges for like line maintenance and all this other stuff. And so, like our bills can, range pretty high. And then of course, peak months and stuff like that, we can see like, I don't know, say like in the winter time or early spring when you're not really using the air conditioning a lot or things like that. It could be like reasonably manageable, like, $100 or less kind of thing. And in the summer times, it's over $200. And I'm not.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm
Here
not
too.
like air conditioning a lot. I'm air conditioning 985 square feet. So
I don't even have whole house air conditioning. So yeah, we're like one room here, one room here. We're not doing that whole house thing that everybody else does.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
And so,
and it's still like that expensive.
Oh, it's still that expensive. And so we're just like, it makes no sense that the infrastructure is still above ground. So very, very susceptible to winds and trees and all of this other stuff. I mean, when we were staring outside at the diagonal rain coming across my truck, that was before we still actually had power.
Yeah.
And we were watching the rain hit my truck, we were watching the transformer pop on the pole right next to my truck.
Just from the wind and the rain.
Just from the wind and rain. And so we were out, and then we're like, oh, well, there you go. Our power's out. And then when we look away, it was just like, it's out, but how?
The tree's like,
out?
I'll do you one better.
Exactly. It's just like, yeah, you think it's out now. Just give me a second. And out. And then everybody's just like, ooh, the local power company is called Pepco. And, they're like, oh, Pepco says that the, electricity is going to be back on at 9:00. I'm like, no, it's not.
Wow.
They cannot turn the power back on until they check all of the power lines to make sure that, because we had called in and said, hey, our power's out. And they're like, yeah, we know. I was like, no, our power lines were ripped from our house.
That's a different thing.
Oh my gosh, Comcast, my Lord, these guys. You want to talk?
Well, and it's funny because not funny, but it's just cheaper to keep putting Band-Aids on this old infrastructure than it is to replace it and put it underground. That's a huge, huge, huge expense. It seems like.
Do you know how much that would cost? It's like,
right.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I kind of do this sort of things. However, if you think about the longevity of this thing,
right?
You're putting this stuff in conduit and all that other stuff, and you'll have like little small transformers around the neighborhood, but they're all like ground based and stuff. Think about the ease of maintenance of those things. I mean, commercial buildings and schools and stuff do this all the time.
I've got power lines running through my backyard as well because our neighborhood's old, and it's just like it looks terrible. These things get in the way. You do have to maintain them. They're always out cutting the trees around them. It's so much ongoing maintenance that doesn't happen.
Cutting or butchering.
Yeah, butchering. Exactly. There's no artistry to this.
Because we really truly believe that all of the trees, and when we moved into this neighborhood, it was this beautiful tree-lined, neighborhood. All these like beautiful old trees and stuff were there. And we're like, this was like the biggest draw. I mean, for the last 13 years that we've lived here, at the end of the school year, so at the beginning of the school year, we take pictures of the kids, kind of like with the house in the background, and then this one's out of the street, and then at the end of the year, we take a picture in front of this tree. Well, clearly thankfully the two boys have graduated high school and stuff, and so they won't be taking pictures in front of this tree. But now my daughter doesn't get. We took a picture of her in front of the stump, In fact,
That's
actually,
funny.
we did take a picture of all three.
It's
of them
like the
in front of
giving tree. You ever read that
Yeah.
story?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There she is in front of the stump.
Exactly.
The tree gave the last that the tree could give.
The tree totally did. So let me just tell you a real quick story of Comcast and their sharp astute attendant, whatever word I'm trying to figure out here right now. But so I call them up, tell them my cable's out. Yeah, we know your cable's out. Have you tried to unplug it from the wall? I was like, no, nature did that. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I was like,
why are you being so cryptic?
I told them, I was like, well, at first I told them, we had a weather event, some trees came down, some lines are down and stuff like that. That's how I started the conversation. They're like, oh, so I see that, it's like, well, let us run a check. I'm like, you can run your
Wasting
check.
everybody's time, dude.
But it's going to come back failed. Well, we just need to do that to kind of do a baseline. And then they run that. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're always doing. All right, fine, whatever.
And then it's like, they run it. It's just like, oh, it failed. So have you tried to unplug it? I'm like, no.
Are you hearing me?
It's like, no. Nature did that for me. They unplugged the cable line from my house. And then they're like, what? I'm like, I started this whole conversation off by telling you guys that a tree fell over and ripped all of the power lines and the internet lines out of the wall of my house. They're laying across my front yard underneath the tree right now. I'm just trying to let you guys know that I don't have internet. And then they're just like, oh, well, that could be a problem. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
But have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in?
And so then I get a text message from them on the day that, because of course, everybody's calling and they're like trying to get technicians all over the place. And this was an area wide event. And so like all of their technicians are everywhere. And so it's first come, first serve. And apparently I waited, an hour or two late to like
way too long.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, the earliest one is like the afternoon of Saturday. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. Just, get it here. And so I get a text and then a phone call shortly thereafter from, their automated. So like, our technicians have corrected the problem in your area. Please unplug your modem and plug it back into the wall and see if it resets. Like, what are you guys not? They're like, and let us know within 30 minutes whether or not you want to cancel your appointment.
It's just because all of these things are so automated, right? Ugh.
Yeah.
They're not ready for the catastrophic event.
They can fix whatever they want. I still don't have a line coming into my house. So come on, man. Oh,
I can see a whole like YouTube channel being started up around these kinds of interactions with these companies where you're dealing with automations and AI chatbots and all these things, and it's like, have you tried unplugging it and replugging it back in? Can you try resetting your modem? And every video ends with you out on the lawn with a video of the wires on the ground where the tree ripped them out of your house.
Yeah. So I'm going to date myself and, of course, use a very not so appropriate, literally, like as I was listening to them talking about, just unplug the modem from the wall and it'll wait 30 seconds. And it was so funny. It's like, it used to be just 10 seconds. Now you want me to wait 30 seconds? But I had the Benny Hill song running through my head.
Yeah, right.
And it was just like, oh my gosh. Like, it literally just like, bring on the Keystone Cops. I mean, it was just so incredible that they like totally just weren't getting it. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, you're killing me.
Wire not connected to house. Need new wire.
Let me spell this out for you. Well,
you're
you're back up and running. You're in the spring cleaning mode. This has inspired you to start fresh on many levels because
yes,
I mean you're missing a couple trees out of your view now, so this freshness of perspective is
I will say
inside the house.
I am now more worried about, as I was talking about, my power bill. So the big windows in the front of our house face south, and
Oh, you don't get that shade from that tree anymore.
We don't get that shade from
That's
that
cool.
tree
The
anymore.
energy models for all the buildings we do, they don't count any exterior landscaping. So
Yeah, well,
because they don't matter. They don't do anything.
I have an old 1950s house that has no insulation, zero insulation in the walls, and single pane steel windows. That's all efficiency.
Yeah.
This house, once we move out, leveled and done what every other house in this neighborhood is slowly becoming. This from this little postage stamp site with a postage stamp house will be a completely max out the FAR and
McMansion.
And it will be a big. So they're going from 985 square feet to like 3,200 square feet.
Opulence. I has it.
Exactly. So it's the actual size of the lot is 100 by 60 feet. That's the size of the lot. So not very big. And you take that and then I think with all of the setbacks, it was 55 by 40 with all of the setbacks. And they are building.
That is what they build.
And that's what they build. Total. Like with all of the setbacks.
That so rectangle. That's what I want.
Yeah. They're like,
extrude it.
No more, like barely any front yard, no backyards. The bigger houses that are like next to each other, you've got 5 feet from your property line to your wall. So there's 10 foot separating, between the two.
Do you guys have fences and walls and stuff out there for property lines or not? Or is it just open?
Some people do, some people don't. Most of the time it's just open. So it does.
That helps a little bit?
It does. It does. It doesn't feel
our
like
neighborhood, everybody's got a fence or a wall or something, and it's just, it does detract from that open feeling. So even though we don't have nobody here can build a house that big on top of their old house. So that's not going to happen. But we also have, the visual kind of blockage everywhere. Makes it feel built up when it's.
And what's interesting is in the 13 years that we've lived here, everybody who has built a new house are basically like tapping into these old power lines, water lines,
right,
and everything else. And it's just
every house went from 1 bathroom to 4.
Yeah, and it's just it's interesting to like
wonder if it can handle it.
Exactly, that's exactly where I was going. Good thing is that they are like right now. What's interesting is like if you look down my street, there's these 2 PVC pipes on either side sitting in the gutter, and it's a temporary water line because they're ripping out the old water lines and putting in new water lines. But to service all of these houses, they literally have on the surface these water lines that have basically a hose, seriously, a hose going from the water line, tapping off of that surface water line into our water meter. And then, I keep looking down the road, because people park on the street, that there's, like little micro leaks all up and down these things. I'm like, my wife saw one.
Talk about Band-Aids, Chief.
Exactly. My wife, was asking, was like, I wonder if, are we getting charged for like the water that's leaking in our.
As long as it's on their side of the meter.
I was like, that's what I told her. I was like, as long as if it's leaking on our side of the meter, then yes, we would be paying for it. But it's leaking on their side, so it's theirs. It's just like, geez.
They'll find a way to charge you for it. Don't worry.
I'm sure they will.
Man, well, glad to see you're back up and running. And
me too.
A few more Band-Aids in the neighborhood. That's all you get.
A few more Band-Aids.
We're not going to go replace that stuff. It's good.
Exactly. Progress. Modernity. Keep now, right as I said that, another song just popped into my head. I don't know if you guys have at Disneyland, but at Disney World, we have the Carousel of Progress.
Good question. I'm not a huge Disney follower, so I can't tell you.
So it's the Carousel of Progress is basically it's this like rotating theater that takes you through this, kind of like the evolution of like going from
technology and stuff.
Yeah, the evolution of technology and stuff. And it's like, it's a great big beautiful tomorrow. It just like so that song just popped into my head, and now I just put it in everybody else's head too. You're welcome.
Nice.
We're gonna have to put a link to that song